We've got another awesome author visit to share with you today. We're working hard on Season 4 of Reading Bug Adventures and have great new adventures planned for you for the fall. But while we wait, we wanted to introduce you to some great authors like today's special guest, Max Brallier. We frequently have author visits in our store and our local schools, and the Reading Bug and I want to make sure that you get a chance to meet them too. On these bonus episodes, you'll get to meet some of the authors who inspire our adventures, and you'll also get to learn all about what they've written and how they write. On this episode, we'll meet author Max Brallier. Max is a New York Times best-selling author of more than 30 books and games, including the epic The Last Kids on Earth series, which will also debut as an animated series on Netflix this fall. But why don't I let him tell you all about himself? Let's all fly to our bookstore together to hear from Max. It's time for a Reading Bug Adventures author visit.
Lauren!
Reading Bug, hi! I don't think I've seen you in days. Where have you been?
I just finished my entire Last Kids on Earth survival guide. I spent days on it, drawing my inventions in Quint's workshop. Then I designed a kids-only hangout that will rival Jack's treehouse, and I even created a dream post-apocalyptic warrior outfit. Look!
Wow, Reading Bug, that looks really cool. You've been really busy. Maybe now you want to get some sleep?
No way! But now I'm bored. I finished reading the entire Last Kids on Earth series twice. And now I've completed this survival guide and...
Reading Bug, slow down. It's okay. You and I both know there are millions of books out there to read.
Yes, but
But don't worry. I've got 2 surprises for you. And I don't think you'll be bored very much longer. Ready?
Oh, yes!
Okay. First, there's another Last Kids on Earth book coming in September 2019. It's called The Last Kids on Earth and the Midnight Blade.
Really? Oh, great! I can't wait! And what's the second surprise?
This one's even better. The author of The Last Kids on Earth, Max Brallier, is coming here right now to talk with us. Want to meet him?
Oh, yes!
Hello, everyone. We are here today with New York Times bestselling author Max Brallier, and we're talking about the Last Kids on Earth series. The Reading Bug and I are so excited to welcome you, Max.
We sure are.
Thank you for having me. Hello to you and to the Reading Bug.
So, Max, before we get into the details about the Last Kids on Earth series, let's talk a little bit about your background and where you came from. Was writing your first job in the professional world?
No. My first job in the professional world is I worked cashier at Target, and then I worked in the toy department at Target, and then I worked on movies for a little while, and movies and TV shows as a production assistant, and then I ended up working in book publishing. So I worked in publishing, I worked for publishers, and that's sort of how I got into writing.
Nice. Of all those jobs, was there one that you loved or hated, or were there parts of any of those that you loved or hated?
I loved and hated at the same time being a production assistant. Mm-hmm. I worked on The Sopranos. I got yelled at by James Gandolfini one time, but not like in a nice way, not like yelled. But it was like a gentle and then working in book publishing was great. It was really, really good, and it allowed me to meet a lot of editors and meet agents and people who helped me become a writer.
Mm-hmm. So you've written under a pen name before, another whole series. First, can you explain to the audience what a pen name is and what series you wrote?
Yes. Okay, so I write a series called Erie Elementary under a pen name. The pen name is Jack Chabert. A pen name is like a fake name that authors sometimes use for different reasons, I guess. The reason I did it was there was no exciting, cool, fun reason. It was just a publishing thing. But the name Jack Chabert is my 2 grandfathers' names combined. I have one grandfather whose first name is Jack, and my other's last name is Chabert, so I combined their names, and that became Jack Chabert. And I write Erie Elementary under that. And I also wrote the graphic novel Pop Tropica Mystery of the Map under the pen name Jack Chabert. And I am now done with pen names. I'm not writing under pen name ever again because it's too confusing for readers. It gets really confusing.
And you're too big now. Last Kids is a huge series now.
Yeah, so I'm just Max from now on out.
That's great. So can you tell us, let's get on to the Last Kids on Earth series because I'm excited to hear a little bit more about it and what the premise of the entire series is.
Sure. So the Last Kids on Earth series is about a kid named Jack Sullivan. He's the hero, and then one day he's like on the way to school and these big portals open up in the sky and gigantic like Godzilla-sized monsters come kind of plummeting through, and then there are zombies too that sort of come through and this zombie plague spreads, and Jack hooks up with his two best friends. They connect. They live in this like really kind of kick butt treehouse, and they go in search of the crush. This girl Jack has a huge crush on, and he thinks she's going to be this like, he watches too many movies, and he thinks she's going to be this like old-timey Disney princess damsel in distress. Then he meets her, June, and she's like the most kick butt of everybody, and sort of makes him rethink all the really dumb 6th grade boy things that he thought he knew about girls. And then they have like a lot of fun in the end of the world. Yeah, that's it.
In the end of the world.
Yeah, it's like a fun apocalypse.
So was this something of your dreams when you were younger, or did this just pop into your head one day, or how does this come about?
Both. It didn't just pop into my head one day. It all sort of connected one day, but when I looked back, I was like, oh, it's really clear where all this came from. So, like, I had a treehouse in my backyard when I was a kid, and that's, like, where Jack's treehouse came from. And Jack has this, like, big monster dog named Rover that he rides around on. It's, like, this huge sort of creature that's, like, this big, lovable creature. And I had a dog. When I was a kid, I used to try to ride my dog, and then my dad was like, stop doing that. You're going to, like, hurt the dog's back, so I stopped. And Jack's weapon is like the thing is called the Louisville Slicer. It's like a Louisville Slugger baseball bat that he ends up using as like a sword because it gets splintered, and now it's like a cool sword. And that's because like when I was in Little League, I was the worst kid. I was the worst Little League player ever, but I had like a baseball bat, and I used to pretend it was a lightsaber, and like I realized like, oh, that's where that came from. So it was like a lot of stuff just from my childhood that got sort of like repurposed and became this big adventure story set in like my hometown basically too. Like a lot of the places in the books are places that I went to, like the same names and everything that I went to when I was a kid. Sorry. And yeah, so it's like a sort of like it was always there, and then one day I started thinking about what I wanted to write next. I had done a bunch of activity books for Cartoon Network shows. I wrote like activity books for Adventure Time and Steven Universe. And I wanted to write something that was mine, that was like original, my series. And I thought about the stuff that I loved, and it was like, oh, it's like giant monsters and zombies and like cool tree fortresses and gadgets and gadgets and gadgets. And the kids get to drive. They have this big, huge, crazy pickup truck called Big Mama. It's loaded up with like monster battling cannons and things like that. So it's sort of like all the stuff that I wanted to do when I was a kid, if I could turn it into a book. And that's what I did. Yeah.
That's very cool. There's more books in the series. Book number 5 is coming soon.
Yes.
When does that release?
Book number 5, The Last Kids on Earth. I always say last. It's The Last Kids on Earth and the Midnight Blade comes out on September 17th.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent.
And so that's book 5. Right now I'm outlining and working on book 6 and 7.
I can't wait.
Wow.
Yeah.
Is there a set number in the series ready to go, or is there
413? No. I have like a sort of vision for how it's going to all play out. It can't just kind of go on forever. I wish it could, but like the kids age in the books. There's birthdays, they get older. It's a little bit like almost Harry Potter-ish, and just in the sense that it gets sort of more serious as it goes on. Like the kids are growing up. The sort of danger is a little more serious. Their emotions are more serious. So I think there'll be maybe 10 or so, but I'm also gonna do little like little side books, like I just did the Survival Guide, Last Kids on Earth Survival Guide, which is an activity book. I'm gonna do more stuff like that. I think I want to do an adventure just about June, like a side thing just about the June character and her doing something really cool, like a quest.
That could be like a whole spin-off series.
Yeah, a whole June and the big awesome quests. Quest number 9.
I'm all about the girl power too. I think that's lots of fun too.
Yeah.
So what in that survival guide that just came out, is it harder to write an activity book like that than it is a story for you?
No, it's a lot easier.
Easier.
I know. I should be like, oh, it's hard in a different way, but no, it's like a lot easier. I mean, to be honest, yeah. To write an activity book is like really. I sort of sat and I had a big notepad, and I was like, okay, like I'm pretending I'm the reader basically, and like what would I want to do? Like what do I like? What the series? It's like okay, so Jack has the Louisville Slicer, but if it was me and I was hanging out with these kids and it was the end of the world, like what would I use to battle monsters with? And I just sort of like think, and then those just usually have to figure out the answer, but here it's just like, oh, that's a question that a kid has to figure out on their own and get to draw it, things like that. And I'd done a lot of these activity books for Cartoon Network, like Adventure Time Regular Show, Steven Universe, Uncle Grandpa I did some for. So it was it was a fun sort of change of pace and a sort of break to sort of switch up into that. I think a lot of the ideas for the actual series, like the stories, are sort of, they come from me just kind of like laying around my house and daydreaming and thinking about like, oh, what did I love when I was a kid, or what do I love right now? Like, what if I was reading the next Last Kids on Earth book and I hadn't written it, like what would I want to read about? And so I do a lot of daydreaming. I did it a lot when I was a kid. That's sort of how I got into stories. And so I was like, I'm gonna create a book where like the kids can daydream and create their own sort of things.
So have you visit a lot of schools, and I hear we're the last stop on this particular tour.
You're the last stop in this tour, 3 weeks.
3 weeks
yes.
away from
Grand
home.
finale.
So neat. So I like being the last stop because it's like a big, boom, grand finale. So what, do you ever get ideas from the kids in your audience, either for the guide or for your stories?
Yes, absolutely. I think a lot of the stuff in the guide, like I was sort of guided by like the questions that I get the most. Like if I get a lot of questions about like June, I'm like, okay, I should write a lot of stuff about June. Or if there's a lot of like questions about like, how did you come up with like what's in the treehouse? Because the treehouse has like all sorts of crazy things in it. I'm like, oh, I should like do a lot of treehouse sort of related activities in the book. So I'm able to sort of like get nice feedback as I go on the series. And I've also found myself being sort of like a little bit influenced by like, you know, if kids ask certain questions, I'm like, oh, I got to resolve that. Like at the end of the fourth book, it ends on a cliffhanger about like where the kids are going to go next. They get this sort of like radio message from the Statue of Liberty, and kids are always like, when are they going to solve that? When's that going to happen? When is that going to be fixed? And I was like, I really got to resolve that soon. It was like stressing me out. I emailed my editor. I was like, I really got to resolve this. So I do get like a lot of sort of nice feedback from kids, and it takes me places and makes me think about things I wouldn't have thought otherwise. And also the grand finale of the series, I sort of know how I want to end. I got to get there, but I know how I want to end. And that totally came from a kid who's like, you know, they asked their questions at the end. And one kid was like, I have a comment. And it's always like, okay, great, a comment. And then he's like, it should end like this. And I was like, oh. And I was like, that's totally what I was going to do. And I was like, I'm going to file that away. Because it was a really good ending. So I owe some kid in like Ohio a thank you.
Of course. So speaking of the questions that the kids ask, is there one that you get asked all the time that doesn't surprise you? Or
do you play Fortnite?
Oh.
Every single one. Do you play Fortnite? Do you play Fortnite? I have Fortnite. I downloaded it, and I was awful at it. Like, I play a lot of video games. Or I did until my daughter was born. I play less now. It's less time. But I play a lot of video games, but I couldn't take, like, just getting destroyed and beaten online and then, like, just screamed at by, like, 7th graders anymore. Like, it was just too bad for my ego. So now I play, like, single-player games where there's no one to beat you.
I see.
Just the game. So, but I always get that one. Where'd your ideas come from? And that's like, it's really just daydreaming. I talk about that a lot. What's your favorite book? What's your favorite monster? What's your favorite character in the series? How long does it take you to write a book? How much money do you make? How old are you? Those are the ones I always get. Yes.
I have a few of those kinds of questions for you at the
Go
end,
for it.
but they'll be more fun. Have you
those
ever?
are fun.
Well, there's even more fun. Don't worry. What?
$19 million a year.
Yes, that's exactly why I'll.
I mean,
$19
$19 million a month.
A month.
Yes.
Oh, good.
Yes.
Do you think they believe you when you say that?
No.
No.
They're like, then why are you wearing those pants? Those pants are dirty. I'm on the road for 3 weeks.
Exactly. So, any questions that you've gotten from kids at schools or anywhere that have been kind of outrageous and you don't know how to answer?
I have like some honest answers. Crazy hilarious questions that I get are usually like around like sort of like why I don't do certain things. Oh, I also talk a lot about, so like I had this treehouse in my backyard when I was a kid, and in 5th grade my best friend Chris, I had a zip line treehouse, which I still can't believe I got away with because my mom was like really anxious. I didn't know it back then, but like looking back I was like, that's crazy. I had a zip line on it. And then like this like the classic zip line disaster happened and my best friend fell off and broke his arm. And I talk about it because it was like kind of cool. I talk about like how it was like the most amazing thing that ever happened. Like it was the coolest thing I ever saw happen live. Like this, my best buddy like fell off and like broke his arm and stood up and his arm was like dangling and it was like crazy, awesome. And then like one kid raised his hand and his arm was broken. He's like, it's not funny. People break their arms, and I felt really bad.
Oh no.
Yeah, and I used to read. So I also write Erie Elementary, which is like a little bit spookier.
Yes.
And I used to read from it to younger grades, and I used to do it like really dramatically. And then I looked out one time and like a girl was just sobbing and was really scared, and then she raised her hand, I called on her because I was like, I probably should do this, and she's like, why did you try to make me sad? It broke my heart. So now I could do like a much like less dramatic reading.
Yep.
And I skip over big scary. Some of it, if like a word sounds particularly scary or like it seems like something's going to be like a little too dark, I'll just sort of like change it live as I'm reading. Yeah.
It's hard because, I mean, some kids love that spooky stuff and can completely handle it, and some, a little bit more sensitive. And I think that's...
Spooky stuff is tough because like it's great when it's in a book form and a kid can go out and seek it, but like in a school presentation it's like, okay, hey kid, you're being yanked out of class, you're gonna go sit here and you have to listen to this guy read to you, and like you don't know what they're scared of or not scared of, and sometimes like it's like, okay, great, I'm gonna read to third graders today and I'm gonna read this scary story, then I go into the school and like, oh surprise, it's also kindergartners, and like, oh okay, that's going to scare them. So I decided to switch it up live. I have a new spooky series coming out from Scholastic in September. And it's for really young ages. It's like kindergarten and first. And it's called Mr. Shivers Presents. And it's like 5 little spooky short stories. And I'm really curious to see, like, I think they're scary. Like, I was reading them again, looking at the art. I'm like, these are scary. But the little bit of feedback I've gotten from reading them to kids is they love it. I can't believe it. I'm like really, I was sort of surprised. Like this is gonna be too much, but I guess not.
Ooh, I don't know, Max. I do like spooky stories, but not that spooky. But I'll read it, of course.
Yeah, I know a lot of our Reading Bug Box subscription box customers have just different takes on what's too scary and what's not. And some kids are, afraid of things like a whale, and you think, oh gosh, afraid of a whale, but there must be some reason for that, and then other times they say, but I could still read Erie Elementary. It's like, really okay, but fears are different for everyone. So I guess
a whale probably like ate his dad or something.
Who knows? You never know. But
the whole family's eaten by whales. No more whale stories.
That is the next Last Kids on Earth series book, I think.
The Last Kids on Earth and the family is eaten by whales.
Whales.
Yeah, the whales. It's a Pinocchio spinoff.
That'd be good. I like it. See, you don't need to get your ideas from kids. You can get them right here at the Reading Bug. Oh, so the Last Kids on Earth series is going to be a Netflix show.
Who told you that? Yes, it's true.
I don't know.
Yes.
It's on one of the books.
Yeah, now it's a burst on the cover, which is pretty cool.
It's on the cover. Yeah. How did they just call you and say, "Hey, Max, we're turning your book into a Netflix show"?
Sort of. I mean, not exactly like that, but kind of close to that. I got a call from a production company who wanted to make, they're like, hey, we like this. We think we can make this into a cool animated series. Do you want to do that? And I was like, yes, I do want to do that. And then we talked to a few different companies. One was Netflix, and Netflix was like, we really want to do this. And we did it. And it's been like a real pleasure. Like an absolute amazing experience.
So what kind of work are you doing on anything on it, or is someone else taking it over?
Yes, so I'm one of 5 writers on the show. I wrote the first episode. It's the best episode.
Of course.
No, it's I've written. I sort of work on every single story, every single episode, and then I've written maybe 1/5 of them, and had a hand in like a lot of the stuff along the way, which has been really, really exciting and really fun. I got to Mark Hamill is one of the voices.
Oh, nice.
And I'm like a huge Star Wars nerd.
Yep.
And so I got to go and sit and. He stepped into the microphone booth and read things that I had written, and my head exploded. And yeah,
did you cry a little bit?
I cried a little bit afterwards. Yeah, I cried a little bit before. I cried a little bit during. I'm crying right now.
That's exciting. So that's the first. So how many episodes are there so far? We're
gonna adapt the first 3 books, and it'll be something like. I forget if I'm allowed to say or not, so I'm not going to say.
Okay.
Yeah, I forget if I'm supposed to say. But we're adapting the first 3 books in the series.
Great.
Yeah.
And do you know when it releases?
It comes out. I have a very busy day, September 17th, the same day The Last Kids on Earth and the Midnight Blade comes out.
Wow.
Also, the Netflix series comes out, which is really amazing. The only downside is that I'll be on tour for the book, so like I'll be watching it like by myself in a hotel room, not like with my family or with the other show creators and stuff. Which is
if you come back out to the Reading Bug, you can watch it on our screen in our event space.
Okay, let's do that.
All right, we'll do that.
We can have the kids come and hang out.
We could.
Yeah, do like premiere.
That'd be really fun.
We should do that.
Can I do that with Netflix? I wonder if I can.
They want to do something like that, I know.
Yeah,
They
should combine that with the book tour. So, all right, here come the fun questions. What is your favorite color?
Teal.
For kids who don't know what teal is, give an explanation.
Chartreuse. No.
Oh, no.
I don't even know what that is. I just know it's a word. My favorite color is like teal, aqua, like a blue-green, sort of glowing, almost like a neon blue-green, if possible. That's my favorite color.
It's mine, too, so that's why I was trying to give you a hard time. But
nice. Okay. for the listening audience out there, it's the exact color of the chair that you're sitting on.
Oh, that's right.
So they'll all enjoy that in their heads.
They will. Your favorite food?
Ice cream. If I could eat anything, like I think that my life would be significantly more amazing and happy if I could eat ice cream every single night.
What flavor?
I don't really care. I just want to sit and eat a lot of ice cream all the time. Like every night I watch like a little bit of TV or something like that, and when I don't have something in my hands, I'm like, what do I do? And so I would like to have ice cream every single night. Probably, like if it doesn't matter, I would have like a big sundae with like the hot sauce that sort of mixes in with the cold. I like the hot and the cold together. But I also just like, I don't have it, not like crazy flavors. I like cookie dough and I like Oreo or whatever like the knockoff Oreo is, like a Hydrox sort of flavored ice cream would be fine with me too. Yeah. Chocolate. I like chocolate.
Chocolate is good.
I like popcorn with like chocolate drizzled popcorn. I really like a lot. Yeah.
Now I'm hungry. So what is the grossest food you've ever eaten?
I ate a pigeon. I don't want to be like culturally insensitive and be like, oh, I ate a pigeon. It was gross. But So I was in Paris with my wife for a wedding, which sounds much cooler than it was. I mean, it was very cool, but we don't like go to like Paris often for weddings. It was like a one-time deal. And we went to a restaurant that served pigeon. They brought out the pigeon, and we said, before we ordered though, when we ordered, we were like, but no head. They're like, you have to do the head. That's how it works. We're just dumb Americans. Can we please not have the head? And they're like, sure. And then they brought it out and they forgot. So we're like, you left the head on. And the guy came back with a big cleaver and was like, thunk, and chopped the head off and then like took it away, which made it even worse. And that was the grossest thing I've ever eaten.
Did it taste like chicken though?
It tasted like pigeon. Like it tasted like it didn't. It was just bad all around. The next day, my wife threw up from it. I think just more from thinking about it.
I'm sure.
Into was it the River Seine? Is it the Seine there in Paris? Oh. Yeah, we were down walking along it, and then I looked back, and she was just like hurling into the river. Pigeon is the grossest sort of like animal bird meat thing I've ever eaten. And then one time I ate by mistake a chocolate covered ant. I didn't do it on purpose. I was eating something chocolate, and like an ant sort of had gotten like I was like laying there, and it sort of had mixed together. They were hanging out or something. The ants and the chocolate.
So this wasn't a prepared.
No. I know that is like a thing. Like people eat like chocolate covered grasshoppers and stuff. No, not me. That was a mistake. I freaked out.
What is your favorite book that you've ever written?
My favorite book that I've ever written and my least favorite book I've ever written are the same book. Mm-hmm. It's the first Last Kids on Earth book. It's my least favorite because it was the hardest thing I'd ever done. And it took like 3 years to write. I almost gave up and walked away from it twice. At the very last moment, I rewrote everything. I changed like almost the entire thing except for like a few major, like zombies, monsters, treehouse, hero. But like everything else changed. I had this moment where I was like, I don't really like the book that I wrote, and it took me like 2.5 years to write. And I was like, I'm going to start from scratch. And I did. Wow. Rewrote the whole thing. And so when it came out and people liked it, and I was also very happy with it when it came out, a lot, because it just looked really amazing, because Doug Holgate, the illustrator, does an amazing job. I got really lucky. So when it came out and I was happy with it and people liked it, it was like an amazing kind of moment. But when I think back about those 3 years, I'm like, I don't ever want to do that again. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that book's my least favorite because it was so hard, but it was also like it was my big lesson in like perseverance. Yeah.
And the subsequent books, how long did they take you in the series?
They take me now. I'm on like a pretty rigid schedule because they come out every September now. So it takes me about like 6 to 8 months to write, alongside writing other things too. Mm-hmm. So it's like 6 to 8 months, and I outline like crazy first. Before I write anything, I outline like crazy.
Mm. What's your favorite book that you wish you'd written?
My favorite book something that sold a bunch of copies. I don't know. My favorite book of all time. It's not a book. It's like a series. It's my favorite book of all time is Bart Simpson's Guide to Life, which is it was like a little hardcover, a paper board thing that came out like in '92 when I was a kid, and it was this Simpsons tie-in book that was like this amazingly well written and well made book, and it sort of changed my life. It was like what made me. I didn't know at the time, but looking back, I was like, oh, like I'm trying to create this sort of over and over again. It was like Bart's dream bedroom, and it had like all the crazy things you would have like in a like a sneaker machine, like stuff like that. And like I was like, oh, like that's like sort of just like this amazing like wish fulfillment like book. And then my favorite story is the Bone series by Jeff Smith. It's like my favorite thing ever. I kind of grew up with that. I think the first maybe collected issues came out when I was in like 6th grade, and then it finished I think when I was in the end of high school. So I got to kind of like grow up with that big adventure. I love that one.
Do you think are you more into graphic novels than novel type books, or do you like?
I bounce around. It depends. It really does depend. Like I've started to really like reading. Like I don't know. I honestly like it all. It sort of depends what my mood is in. Like sometimes I like something visual, so I want to read a graphic novel. Sometimes I just want to read like really nice sentences, and so I want to read some like crazily well written thing.
Can I ask one question, Lauren? Max, if you could give kids who want to be authors when they grow up one piece of advice, what would that advice be?
Run! If I have one bit of advice for kids who want to be authors, I get that question too sometimes. I get it so often I should probably have a better answer. But let's see. So a few things. A lot of kids will come up to me like after they're like during like a school presentation, they'll be like, I'm writing a book and it's a series about like dragons, and there's going to be 9 books and I'm on page 2. And I'm like, you should write short things first. I only ever got the confidence to actually write a book after I'd written a couple short stories that I liked, and I was like, oh wait, I finished this. It's like done. There's like a completed thing here, and that felt really good. And so now I also I don't ever worry about writing good until the very end. I just try to write fast and get things done, even if it's like not even there's like typos and there are incomplete sentences and it's like bullets and bullet points and stuff. I just try to write fast and get it done. And so that's what I would say, like, just don't worry about like having nicely written stuff. Just try to finish something. It feels so good to finish something. It's like so hard. So write like a short little story about like a little, whatever it is, just a little short 5-page thing with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And also keep a journal. I wish I had kept a journal. I kept a journal for some years and some months, and looking back, I'm like, I wish I could go back and do this. And I've told my younger self to do this every day. Yeah.
I meant to ask you that earlier because you said so many of your ideas came from daydreaming. Did you
if I had a daydreaming journal, I would be writing like 4 more series right now, because I feel like I'm still sort of sticking to the same things that I can remember. One of the cool things about going to schools though is like you'll see stuff that like, oh, that reminds me of like something, like I forgot about that. I forgot about like some kid was telling me that they were like it was a middle school, and they were talking about how like if the teacher doesn't show up by a certain time, they're like legally allowed to go home. And I remember that like urban legend from when I was a kid, and like that just cracked me up. And like I love when I hear stuff like that or see stuff like that reminds me of like what it's like to be a kid. And also like doing Erie Elementary, it's about a monstrous school. And like I've gotten so many good ideas from just like going to schools and being like, I'm gonna go to the bathroom, and like sneaking off, just like walking around for a little while and being like, oh right, like here's like a cool way the school could come alive. So I get a lot of good ideas from that.
That's great. So well, we're very excited for the 5th installment in September, which you can already pre-order right now. And the survival guide has so many activities. My kids are actually doing them as we speak.
Nice.
They're having so much fun
Good.
with that. And it's nice. It's nice to have that after you've read the first 4 in a series, to have some sort of activity to go ahead and do.
Yeah.
And then before you continue on to the next book, so they'll have something coming up in September, which is so exciting. You can buy the Last Kids on Earth Survival Guide and the rest of the Last Kids series at thereadingbug.com or your local independent bookstore. And we want to thank Max Brallier so much for being here today, and we are very excited for the next one. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to the Reading Bug.
Of course. Thanks, Max.
A very special thank you to Max Brallier for visiting with us today. To find and buy all of his great books, visit thereadingbug.com/authors. Reading Bug author visits are recorded live in our children's bookstore, The Reading Bug, in San Carlos, California. Please continue to support us at thereadingbug.com and support independent booksellers whenever you can. For a personalized selection of books handpicked by me and the rest of the Reading Bug staff, and delivered to you each month, you can visit readingbugbox.com. Thanks, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye!